Hi everybody, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be building a restaurant shaped like a burger and fries. I went on the Hare and Hedgehog lot in Windenburg, and I started by making a red and white checkered tablecloth with different colors of concrete. This is just to blend the lot in, so that the grass really stands out, but also to add to the giant food effect. Once that was done, I started with a hexagon-shaped room. It is 6 tiles long on the horizontal and vertical sides, and 5 on the diagonal sides. I made it the first wall height, and then added a second room of the same height on top, and put on a roof, which I curved to the maximum curvature, and made the approximate height for the bun. I then deleted the walls of the second floor so that I had the floating roof, and put the thatch from Island Living and the under-angled wood wall trim, roof trim on the roof to make the bun curve in a bit. I used the light sand wall, which can be found under clean room, for the lower bun. For the sesame seeds, I used these scratching posts. I had to raise them individually, so I didn't film that part. I didn't think anyone would want to see that. For the lettuce, I'm using these plants from the flower section. It is the Hederia canariensis. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And then on top of that, underneath it actually, I used the perfectly preserved rug in yellow, the cheese. Rugs you cannot raise or lower, so they have to go on the bottom when you use them in extra large sizes like this. I then went to the debug item, and under Strangerville, there's these giant rocks which I used to make the hamburger patty. I just carefully placed them all around, kind of blending them under the bun, and trying to make it look as round as I could. Next, I used the round pet bed in red. This pet bed is white in the center, so when you're placing it to make it look like a tomato, you have to make sure that only the rim is showing. You can raise or lower it with the 9 or 0 key, and make it larger or smaller with the brackets. This is, of course, after you move objects. After I added the tomatoes, I used My First Pet's pet bed in green to make pickles. It was tempting to just use this as the condiment since it already has cheese and tomato, but it doesn't look right, and it's just not the same. I then used the round pet bed again in lavender to make onion slices. This one's lavender all the way through, so you can have a bit more of it show. Again, I'm raising and lowering it with the 9 and 0 keys to add some variation and make it look like the onions are stacked on top of each other. I'm also making them different sizes, which adds more realism. Next to the burger, I'm going to make a box of fries. I start with a 4x8 room, which I accidentally made a little too close to the edge of the tablecloth, so I moved it over. And then I'm using the 4th half wall to make it just a teeny bit taller. I'm using the plastered wall from the Eco Living and in red and yellow for the fries, and then the wall art called We from the Cats and Dogs for the icon on the side. I'm using these gems from the debug items. These are citrine, and I'm sizing them up to make them look like French fries. And then adding a trim to the half wall, and using these rugs, which are called the midline rug, I believe, because I thought they looked like napkins. I'm adding some doors and windows here. I just searched the menu with light brown so I would find ones that would blend in well with my bun. I'm only adding them on the side and the back so that the front of the build, the gallery photo, is as unobstructed as possible. I do, however, have to put a door on these french fries. And I debated adding windows to the front. Didn't really like the look, and so I just ended up using them to center this door from the Get Famous pack. I ended up using windows from Get Famous as well, but only putting them on the back of the build. I divided the inside up based on where I was going to put windows. I knew that they would be at the back towards the river, and so I decided to put the kitchen and the bathroom on the other two walls that would not have windows. I decided to put in 2 of the see-through cooking stations and add a sign out front from the restaurant items. I also extended the kitchen a little bit and got rid of these triangle corners on the rooms because they're really frustrating to build with and I don't think they look right. I added in a couple of dishwashers, the freestanding ones, and the stainless steel refrigerators and the stainless steel counters, and gave it 1 espresso machine so that it could serve espresso. There are no cabinets that fit with the stainless steel, so I'm going to use shelving instead, but while I was in the kitchen menu, I grabbed the garbage cans. I'm going for a retro look in this whole build, so I decided to go with these lights in the kitchen. And I'm using the Dine Outdoors. I'm adding in some paper towels, and realizing I forgot sinks, so adding those in too. Now I'm putting in the shelving. I'm going to clutter these shelves up with objects from the debug item. So to get to the debug items, what you do is you type in bb.show hidden objects and also bb.show live edit objects. This is after adding some clutter. I used the hospital panels and the large tiles from the City Living pack in the kitchen and added a couple of waiter stations. When I'm building a restaurant that's meant to look like fast food, I hide the things that I don't feel fit in well, like the waiter stations. Putting down some cushy rugs because standing forever is hell on your knees and we want to be nice to our Sims. And adding in some drainage underneath all of the appliances over here. Putting in windows on this wall against the river. And sectioning this off into 3 bathrooms. When I'm making bathrooms in community lots, I like to use the items that are just one above cheapest because I don't want them to be broken all the time, but I also don't want the bathroom to make them really expensive. I like to use these tiny ceiling lights in bathrooms because they're very unobtrusive and they light up the whole room very well. At first I was going to put booths in this restaurant, but the booths are honestly too large for this lot, and it just doesn't look right. So instead, in the back here, I'm going to put some of the diner, counter, Barstool height tables from Discovery University pack. I'm putting the Discovery University bar stools around these tables and realizing that the footprint of the table will intersect, so I'm moving it over a little bit. And adding some 4-seater tables into the larger apartment room. I'm going with a retro theme for this restaurant, and so my claim scheme is going to be orange and teal on the inside. At first I thought I would put a counter back here up against the wall, but I did decide against that. I don't really have a teal on the Discovery University tables, so I'm using the mint instead and using the teal on these tables in the center here. None of these plants really fit quite the way I was hoping they would, and so instead I'm adding a jukebox to go with the retro feel. Also, the clock from the bowling pack is very retro. I wanted to add some registers so that it looked like people were ordering their food up here, but these tables that they make you put them on are so large, these counters. And if you had 2 of them here, you could only have 2 registers, and it just doesn't look the way I want it to. So a good tip is that you can shrink down those counters, and you can hide them inside of regular island counters, and that way you can put more of the cash registers, and you don't have to deal with the counters that they make you use. Here I'm putting 3 where I only would have been able to fit 2 before, and I get to have this curve around bit here. And adding these rugs because, again, they're being nice to our Sims joints. Adding some menu cards. My idea was that these would be a take a number system. And some condiments. Adding these to the center of the tables too. And over here we need to put in the host station. I always think it's kind of silly to have a host at a fast food restaurant, so I tend to dress them up in a hot dog costume and turn them into a mascot instead. Adding in a menu and some plants in between the bathroom doors. I'm doing a pinwheel floor pattern. I figured you didn't want to see that, and so I do a stop motion here. But to get the ability to place the small triangles, push Control F. I'm again using the orange and the teal for the retro feel. And I'm using these little stand-up menus here. I'm using the half plaster wall from Eco Living and adding one of the exit signs above the door. I'm putting it to night mode to add the lighting so you can see how well it lights it up. I really love these lights from the bowling pack, but they don't give off very much lighting. But a good tip is that you can take the small light that I used in the bathroom and hide it inside of this lamp. You can't see it at all, and it gives you as much light as you would actually want. I'll do it over here again by the hostess station. And I'm giving our host a rug. I'm using the fabricated rugs from Eco Living, which you can get by putting in the debug objects cheat and layering them. Over here I'm going to build a small apartment inside of our french fries. I debated putting picnic tables out on the napkins, but wasn't really feeling it. This apartment will be for whichever sim is running the restaurant if you choose to play with it as a restaurant instead of just placing it as a community lab. Right now what I'm doing is I'm working on the putting in a ladder because we don't have enough room for a staircase in this lot. I'm sectioning off the upper level here because this is where we're going to put the bathroom. I'm going with a red and yellow color scheme to keep it fast food feeling. And I'm using that small light. In the bedroom, I'm going with the teal and orange color scheme that we have from inside of the dining room. The Get Famous pack has some really good retro feeling teal and orange items. I'm also adding the laundry up here because Sims can't carry laundry up and down a ladder, and so if the bathroom and the bedroom are up here, the laundry needs to be up here. I'm using this retro lamp from the bowling pack, and this one from Get Famous. I'm using the orange and blue rug from the Jungle's Adventures pack, and this wall art from Seasons. I'm also using this abstract brown wall art from Cats and Dogs. There isn't really room for a bookcase here, but I thought there might have been. And over here I'm just adding some pet portraits. Down here I'm going to start by putting in the kitchen. Oh, guess I put in the window first. I move the furniture up a bit so that it doesn't look like it's clipping in with the window. And once I add the curtains, I do the same. Now we're started on the kitchen. I'm using the retro feeling cabinets and counters. And the kitchen is small enough that most of them get to be glass. Over here there's a very 70s feeling table from the bowling pack that I'm using with these browns and greens. It's a really 70s feel. I decided to move the table so it looks a bit like a counter. And over here I'm going to make a small living room. This is again going to be in the reds and yellows. And I'm using a lot more of the retro items from the bowling pack. And this big planter from the City Living pack. I'm giving them free earbuds even though they probably don't want them. And a rug from City Living. And now I'm adding some fast food themed wall art because who doesn't want to think about work when they're at home? I guess if you're living inside of a giant french fry, probably is what you like to think about. I'm using the hamburger from Cats and Dogs, and I'm going to the debug objects under clutter to get these gourmet food pictures from Dine Out. Something to aspire to. Over here I'm doing some more food themed things, adding an open sign, and here I'm going to do the neon cupcake sign, the red and yellow jersey, and the ice cream cone from Cats and Dogs. I'm giving it the Chef's Kitchen, Convivial, and Party Place lot traits so that you can have lots of fun here. And I'm giving the hot dog costume to the host. And I'm renaming it On a Roll, because who doesn't love a pun? As you can see, it is completely play-tested and 100% functional, and Sims do not seem to be fazed by walking right into the apartment of the person who lives here. So you're going to want to lock that door. Here you can see them getting their food, which appeared to have been previously on fire. Must be good. And our hot dog host. Our cook is hard at work in the kitchen here. And as you can see, if you don't lock the door, the Sims will come and chill and watch your TV. But, I mean, that's what we all expect from the Sims. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any ideas for future videos, and please like and subscribe.